catch a foot when I drive. Big pressure, I apply. In the ring, you won't survive. Yeah, I swerve when I drive. Yeah, I swerve when I drive.
Talk to me. Yeah. Welcome everybody to another edition of Hassle's Review. And this week, you guessed it, buddies, we got Terrifier 3. Yes, I know it just dropped yesterday. This is a Friday edition. I went to opening night, and as Big Rob of Big Rob's House of Entertainment and no Chinese food likes to say, this will be a fucking spoiler-ridden review. You don't have to F it in. I do that. But that's how it be sometimes. So, before we get into that, though, I would like to say, we went to Atlanta Days of the Dead this past weekend. Met a really cool Art the Clown cosplayer there. He was like on point with the Santa gear. Really good. He lended me an ear. So there was that. But really cool. Being itself was so-so. We discussed that a little bit on the Nerdy Man Room show this past week, so I won't get too much into that right there. But just want to kind of say, if you hadn't been to a con in a while, Atlanta Days of the Dead is 9 out of 10 times more than worth it. Their February show is stacked. It is to the brim of what you want. And hey, the Terrifier crew will be there. They had some other really cool cosplay things as well. There was a couple of guys that had done some Evil Dead. He had done Creep Show boxes. Really cool looking. Aside from that, like I said, but with the weather, and the storm and COVID and everything kicking back up and flu, people just wasn't able to attend. So it is what it is. But that's not what you're here for, is it? What you're here for is Terrifier. But before I get into that, I got one more thing to say. We are extremely close to our subscriber goal of 750 subscribers. We need about 100 more subscribers in the next 3 weeks. We got to October 28th. So that's roughly about, a little over 2.5 weeks actually. So I need your help. We need your help. Me and Monster, we need your help to get the word out there. Like, subscribe, share, comment on these things. Get some flow going. Share them with everybody. Put them on your Facebook. Because once we hit that 750 goal, we got a massive giveaway for you guys. Mr. Mark Spears is going to be on here. He's going to be giving away an autographed cover of one of his comics. We have a graded card I'm going to give away. Got some other cards I'm going to give away. And we got some other cool stuff. We got some other things in the works with our sponsor, Zone Collectibles, 305 Main Street, Tifton, Georgia. So we got some things in the works for some more cool items to give away. We'll have more than one winner. So like, subscribe, share, get the word out. Now it's time for the main event. So we're going to dig into this Terrifier 3. So if you're a fan of the Terrifier series, you were probably like, what the fuck? How are you going to get past part 2? Not just in aspects of gore, but where does the story, how does it come back? How does it do? So the movie opens up in present time. They've done a good little job of this little flashback thing, but it opens up in present time. A little girl, she's hearing Santa on the roof, so to speak. She's excited. She goes wakes mommy up. Daddy didn't want to hear that shit. It's 3 a.m. He's got to get up at 6 o'clock for work. Relatable, fella. I've been there. I know that feeling. So he's like, go handle this. So she goes to tuck the little girl back in, and the little girl's like, will you put cookies out? She's trying to tell the little girl, it's the elves on the roof. His helpers scout things out before Christmas, so to speak. So she goes downstairs and puts some old cookies out for Santa and the elves. She goes back to bed. Well, she realizes the front door's been unlocked. She gets on the husband's ass, and we've all been there, fellas. You know what it's like when your old lady just gives you the business because you forgot to do something you knew you should have done, but you didn't. We've all been there. So she goes there and gives him the business. Tells him to make sure when he gets up to eat the cookies, yada, yada, yada. So next thing you know, you hear a little stomping around, and it's old Saint Nick downstairs. He's got his bag. He's looking around. The little girl, she goes and tries to wake the brother up. Brother ain't want to hear it. He just like daddy, ready to sleep, boy. Get out of here. So she goes back and starts watching. And she creeps down the stairs and whatnot. And then she realizes it's not old Saint Nick, it's Saint Art. Oh yes, he's already in Santa gear. He creeps up the stairs, axe in hand, goes in there and gives the brother the business. I'm talking about gives him the business. Then he goes into mommy and daddy's room where they're both sound asleep again. And he just bludgeons old dad there with that axe. I'm gonna be honest, when I laid down for sleep last night, as I rolled over and nestled up on one side, I thought about that axe hitting old buddy in the neck there, and I was like, ooh, I sleep pretty hard. So yeah, that was a good one. Just mutilates dad, and then the mom turns around like, what are you doing over there? And he goes after mom too, where she hauls ass downstairs, goes to get the children up. She sees the girl's not there. Then she goes to get the son, and he's got pieces of him all over the room. He had just hacked it up. Well, of course, goes downstairs, encounters Art. She meets her demise as well. Well, then next thing you know, the little girl, she's hiding still. You're like, well, is she going to get away? You don't know. Old Saint Art, he's sitting there with his feet kicked up, just dipping his milk in cookies, just as precious as you could be. Then he hears the girl, scutter about in the cabinet. And that's where it kind of like pans out. He opens the door and sees her there, smiles, a la Art. And then it goes 5 years previous. So the movie is set 5 years into the future from part 2. There's been 5 years of time lapsed. So it goes back to the back. You get the very, the cops are showing up. They see Art's mutilated corpse laying there. And, well, the cop, his mutilated corpse is there. Well, it's, the guy's checking it around. He's looking, and he's starting to get a little wigged out or whatever, and he hears something. The next thing you know, this fucking headless corpse jumps up. Yeah, a headless corpse of Art killed this damn cop. Then tears his head off and enters into the subway wearing his head. Yeah, the gore, it is exceeded up. They raised the bar, and they kept raising the bar as the movie went on. But I will say, they really explore the supernatural aspect of Art and the demon and everything that, because in the first movie, you just got the vibe, okay, he's a serial killer. And then he gets killed and somehow supernaturally comes back. How did this happen? Well, in the second movie, you don't really get no answers to that. You just see this weird little girl the whole time, who is oddly enough absent from this movie. That part didn't really, I kind of made a correlation as to what, and I'll get into that later, but I made a correlation as to why she's not there and why we got what we got, but that's neither here nor there right now. But they really tie the supernatural aspect up. So at this point, Art is supernatural as fuck. So he is sitting there with his cop's head on his, body. Well, then you go to the insane asylum where Victoria, the final girl from part 1, who, if you watched part 2, and if you're watching this, you should have watched 1 and 2. She is there, and she just gave birth to this fucking head of Art, and they're, laughing and all this stuff. Well, they had killed the nurse that went to check in on them, and she's like pumping nutrients through her guts into Art's head, or the base of it or whatever. And so when Jericho, who is cameos as a security guard, walks in, he freaks the fuck out, obviously. I mean, who wouldn't? They get up in Victoria, and who is now an accomplice of Art. She gets up and she murders the shit out of Jericho. And by that time, the headless body of Art arrives. Murder the fuck out of him. Good kill scene there. It was like, okay, see where we're going here. Well, at that point, Art retrieves his head, puts it back on. He's whole again. And Art and his accomplice Victoria, they get on a bus or subway, or I forget. It might have been a subway at this point. It's a bus later. And they're just sitting there like, she's kicking her legs like a schoolgirl. She's like just giddy. And they're riding this thing, and a little Art the Clown impersonator gets on there, because apparently, you know, the Miles County Clown, you know, you're going to have assholes that want to, you know, we got people that dress up as Jeffrey Dahmer now, so what do we say as a society? He's dressed up, and he's like, oh, man, can I take a picture of you guys? You guys, like, really slay it. And when Art is head, he doesn't have the piece in the hat. You get a look at the ears, and you can kind of tell at this point he's no longer human. He's not just a resurrected serial killer. He is something more demonic at this point. And there's a little more detail into the makeup. It gives a few more features to kind of give him that look as well. So next thing you know, they get off the subway, and he's in clean Art attire. So he just killed the shit out of this guy. They go up into this old house and whatnot, and you know, he's sitting there like looking at his, you know, a variety of killing devices there. He's getting all giddy and happy and all this shit. And Victoria's kind of just being weird, being real weird. And he keeps kind of like looking at her like, you know, like he does. David Howard Thornton does a great job in this movie right here of invoking emotion, even though he never speaks. Just the looks, the smiles, the way he does his eyes. He does an amazing job in this, and they give him a little more platform to do so in this one than they have in the last two. So that there was pretty cool. But, you know, he's like looking at her in disgust or whatnot. So he goes upstairs, and he sits down in this rocking chair, and he kind of starts rocking back and forth. And Victoria, all of a sudden, she goes in there and she wigs out in front of the mirror when she looks at herself and says a few vulgar things to herself about no one wanting to have relations with herself. So she climbs into the tub, and next thing you know, she just kills herself. Bathtub fills up with blood. The lights pan out. So apparently when they died, Art goes dormant and she dies, the power in the house goes out. So, okay, that's creepy. Flash forward 5 years. So, Sienna, which is the final girl from part 2, the one that became the hero and the supernatural protector, so to speak, with the sword and whatnot, she's in an insane asylum. She's been crazy, and rightfully so. I mean, people, you know, have PTSD. If you don't have some PTSD from Art the Clown, something's wrong with you. So she's kind of one of these places. Well, the uncle goes to pick her up. He's going to carry her home. I guess, you know, she's got her pat on the back to go home. So, and he's talking, and she's asking about her cousin, his daughter, which is like obsessed with her, Gabby. She is just obsessed with Sienna and, you know, her and what she does and all this stuff. So he's telling her, yeah, your partner in crime, she's there, she's waiting on you, this, that, and the other. Well, they get there at the house, and you get introduced to Gabby, and by that time, the aunt walks into the room, and she is the twin of her dead mother. And that part was like, ooh. Like, you know, because when she walks corners, like, wait a minute, that's the mom. And then you realize, okay, that she's the actual aunt, and he's the uncle-in-law or whatever. But you know, there's that aspect or whatever. And Jonathan, he has went off to college, and he is coping a little better than Sienna, but not the best. Not the best. He's he's not doing well. He's a nerd, so he's, you know, got that already to deal with in a college environment. On top of the fact that you know, he's a survivor of the Miles County Massacre, and the way it looks is, you know, you go to come to find out later that, you know, nobody was found because Art's body got up and got the fuck out of there. There was no head. So it almost looks as if Sienna done these murders. It's highly speculated that she done all these murders, seeing as her and Jonathan were the only, but their stories correlated enough to where they put her in an insane asylum till she was healthy enough to come home. And apparently she's done come home and been in and out a few times. So you get all of this right here. Well, by the time a demolition crew shows up at the house that Art went dormant in, and they go in there, and they, you know, you got your little funny back and forth between the two guys or whatnot. Well, one goes upstairs, one goes downstairs. Well, the one goes downstairs, he finds Victoria. The one goes upstairs, he finds Art, and Art's just covered in cobwebs. Now, I don't know about you. I ain't going over there to see if old buddy's good, because he's just, hey man, you all right? Hey man, you all right? He's covered in cobwebs. He's been there a while. If he is a person and not animatronic, I don't give a fuck. I'm getting out of there. I'm going. Same as old buddy downstairs who found her mutilated body in a tub full of just goo and smelling to high heaven. You get out of there at this point. You don't just hang around. But these two morons, they do. And the first guy upstairs, he keeps on with art until finally you see the lights start flickering again. There's life again. They're back. Art murders this stew out of this fella upstairs. Victoria comes back and she murders the hell out of this guy downstairs. And it's like, all right, they're back in crime. And he, then they get together. Art starts fashioning this nitrogen thing, kind of like a thrower, almost like the flamethrower, the second part where it's nitrogen. And he is just like happy about this. And, he's not looking at her with disgust anymore, which was like, okay, what's going on here? How does she come back? Well, apparently, and this was theorized by Jonathan, the brother, because Sienna has a diary and she has letters in there, and Gabby reads her diary, which really pisses her off, and I don't blame her. But she's looking at the letters in there, and he's theorizing, like, when she first went off to the thing, he's like, hey, we got to find the little girl. The little girl is the demon. We got to find her, and we got to kill her, because that's what's powering him to come back. The demon attached itself to someone who lost all hope, and then they empowered a dead serial killer. So basically, you get the vibe, unless I'm interpreting this wrong, and if I am, drop me a comment and let me know. Art was actually a serial killer in part 1. And then when he died, that demon revived his body to bring him back, and the demon was the little girl. And I'm assuming the demon has took into the body of Victoria for this one right here. So I'm assuming that's why we never got the little girl, unless Damien Leone has something in store for the 4th one that he's keeping tight under lid, and that's very, very possible. So you got all this going on. Well, Art goes on and he goes into this bar and he sees Santa there, and he gets excited, like, holy shit, it's Santa. Like, this was a pretty humorous point. He goes up in there and the Santa's there, and he's like, oh no, he's fine. Like, the bartender's like, get the fuck out of here, guy, and he's like, no, he's fine. Well, he sits on Santa's lap and all this stuff, and then, they're just having a good old time, and he's calling him Clowny, and they're just going back and forth, and Ron Howard's brother is in this. He was one of the patrons of the bar, and he's sitting there like, what the fuck is wrong with this guy? He's the whole time, and, well, Art's, listening, he's taking in Santa, because, like, he is excited. He's met Santa, the real Santa, he thinks. And the guy's like, you can't be a real Santa without a... Because then he goes to pull on his beard. And he's like, no, that's real. You can't be a Santa without a real beard. And he's like, oh. So he sits on Santa's lap again. Or he goes to get a shot. They buy a round of shots. He spits the fucking shot right in the guy's face. He's like, ah. I'm like, you're a demonic serial killer, and a shot of whiskey just burns your tongue. All right, then. That's what harms you, a shot of whiskey. So they get kind of pissed off about that. And then he sits down back in Santa's lap and just pisses his pants. And, they're like, no, get the fuck out of here. Like, they all like, this is it, it's over. Art reaches in his bag, pulls out a pistol, and just shoots the fucking bartender right in the neck. Kills his ass, and he pops Ron Howard's brother between the eyes. He got the easiest kill of the whole movie. He should consider himself lucky to have got killed that way. By far. Easiest kill of the movie. Well, Santa starts freaking out. He's like, here, you want the costume? You can have it. It's just, he goes, he's we're in the same business. He's trying to plead to him. Well, by the time he pans out, Art's, got the gear on. He's got everything but the beard. And, he's got Santa tied up there. And Santa's like, look, my name is this. I got a family, I got a wife, I got kids, I got grandchildren. And Art pulls out the old nitrogen. And this was a gruesome spot. Like, this was one of those that was almost just gruesome just to be gruesome. I will say there's several of those that just seem gratuitous for the fact that how can we up the ante? Kills the fuck out of Santa there with this nitrogen. And I'm not going to go into all the details of all the kills because I want to leave you guys something. Even though this is spoiler-ridden, you still want to be a little, kind of shocked and awe. And, of course, snatches the beard off his fucking face. And voila. Well, you go back to the house with the Shaw family, and they're sitting around the table eating Chinese food, just having a good old time. And about that time, the girl that was the best friend that got killed in the second movie, she's just like, when you pass the rice, she's sitting there just bloody as fuck. Got bowls bubbling up with, shit oozing out of it. It was real gross. And, she's just like, hey, will you pass the rice? And then she tells her, hey, I'm fucking dead because of you. And they have this, she's trying to ignore and act like nothing's wrong, but, she wigs the fuck out. Then it starts becoming pretty evident to the family, like, hey, she's not better. Things are bad. She calls Jonathan up, tells him she needs to see him. And he's like trying to shrug her off because he's trying to live somewhat of a normal existence, so to speak. But, it is what it is. I mean, he's a victim as well. So you kind of fast forward a little bit, and there's a girl there at the dorm that Jonathan's in that's dating his roommate that is obsessed with Jonathan and Sienna and the fact that they survived the Miles County clown, and she's a true crimer. She runs a podcast. Hey, she is obsessed with these, and she keeps trying to get him on the show, and he won't do it. So there's that aspect right there, and finally, the uncle's like, hey, we might need to take her back. She could be a harm to us and to herself. But Aunt's not want to hear it. She don't want to give up on her. She's like, hey, her and Gabby's going to pick out a Christmas present for us today. So there's that there. And when they get in the mall, she sees Art in Santa garb. And she freaks the fuck out. But then she's thinking maybe she just saw something, but then later, she gets the hell on out of there, her and Gabby. And then Santa goes, and Santa Art sits on the little Santa throne. All these children come up, and he's got a bag there, and I'm like, holy shit, what's he got in this bag? But he's actually got presents in there. All the kids are coming up, and he's just giving them all presents. He's like, being Art. And you keep waiting like, one of these kids is going to pull a fucking box with a head in it or something. Then finally, one of these kids, they pull a box out and they're trying to open it. Well, security shows up and they're like, hey, this isn't our Santa. Get him the fuck out of here. So they get his ass out of there, shoo him on. And, the real Santa's like, I'm here now. And he goes and sits down and he's trying to get the kids settled back down or whatever. And the next thing you know, one of these kids open that box and a fucking bomb goes off. Blows the whole fucking mall up. Kills shit ton of people. You got blood and guts everywhere and they show the blood and guts. I mean, it wouldn't be Damien Leone without that. So later in the evening, she sees this on the news and she's like, that was Art. I know it's Art at this point. So she calls Jonathan and she's freaking out. She's went to the college and freaked the fuck out on the roommate's girlfriend that wanted them on the podcast. She wigged the fuck out on her, and like it's evident that she's fucking crazy. And she goes to telling Jonathan, and she said, you were the one that told me the demon. We got to kill the demon. We got to kill the little girl. So she says, I got to go back to the Terrifier. I got to get the one thing that can harm this thing. So it says in there, apparently this sword is the only thing that can kill them, which is why they fear. It's the one thing they feel, and as long as she's alive, they fear her. But the weapon can never be used to harm her. That's a little weird. You get a little more backstory in with the dad and her, the whole dynamic, which is really cool. That's pretty neat. So she goes and she gets the sword, and she wraps it up to ease it in the house. And, Gabby, of course, being nosy and whatnot, she hides it behind a tree. So you kind of fast forward a little bit to not getting too much into the weeds. Art shows up at the college, murders the fuck out of the roommate and the chick that is obsessed with all of them. And it's funny, just before he gets them, like he's just going down the hall with his little sack, and she's talking to him and she's trying to persuade him into getting Jonathan on her show. And she's like, you could tell she's obsessed. She said, but he's seen the guy and done all this stuff. And Art's like, he's fawning a little bit. And she was like, almost talking like she was sexually aroused by him. And then she points out that she is, and he's like, which is a pretty funny scene. But she said, just the fact of seeing his eyes as he's doing it, they lit in his eyes. And I was like, So later on, them two are in the shower, they're going at it and whatnot. He busts up in that shower with a chainsaw. And he goes to go into town on these two. And this was gruesome, no lie. He's like bludgeoning her with a chainsaw and sawing at the same time. He mutilates the shit out of her. And then he looks down and he's got glasses on, like Christmas glasses. Like they're little Christmas trees or whatever, sunglasses. And he kind of pulls them off and looks into her eye at that moment. It's like, oh. So then he puts the glasses on her. Then he goes back for the boyfriend whose leg he had done cut off. This poor bastard's trying to crawl away. And this is where we get the bookend to the kill from part one, where he hacksawed the girl in half. Because he shoves his chainsaw up old buddy's asshole and starts sawing up. Oh, yes. Oh, yes. You see the taints, you see the balls, you see the cack, you see it all. He mutilates this poor bastard. So the uncle's on the way to go get Jonathan because, you know, Sienna's done freaked out at the home. Art's there at the college. And he's there to get Jonathan. Well, he calls Jonathan and says, hey, dude, I'm here. Where you at? And he's like, what do you mean? And you get the vibe like, okay, he's not talking to Jonathan. He's like, oh, I'll be there in a minute. You know, kind of like how they done the phone call in part two. So next thing you know, Sienna done been kind of drugged by her aunt to get her some sleep, get her to fucking calm down. And, you know, she wakes up and she starts walking downstairs. And she's like, she hears her aunt and uncle downstairs talking. And he's like, I told you she was fucking crazy. She said, no, you were right. We got to get rid of her. We got to send her back. And they're like, oh, shit, that's fucked up. I mean, this poor girl's hearing this. She's been through a lot. I mean, I don't blame them. I wouldn't want her in my house either being that fucking crazy. But still, it's terrible. So she's hearing this as she's going downstairs. And by the time she gets around the corner, it's not her aunt. It is Victoria, who has fashioned herself this makeshift art costume, art dress, so to speak, and she has a crown of thorns on. And Art's over there. He's got a headless body up on the wall that he is crucified, so to speak. And he's got ho, 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 and Art was here and all this shit. Smiley face where the head's supposed to be. And it's been gutted. So at first you kind of think, okay, is this old buddy that he chainsawed up the ass? But he's like, it's pretty damn clean beyond the bowel area, so to speak. But it's like, okay, whatever. Well, Victoria sees it's them, and, you know, she just freaks out. Well, she starts trying to battle them to no avail. They fuck her up pretty quick. Chain her up, or rope her up to the chair. And then when she comes to, she looks and her aunt's across from her. And she's bound and tied into a chair as well. Well, and then next thing you know, you look up there at the tree, and the old uncle's head is where the star is. That's the uncle. Didn't know that till the last night. Yeah. So that was the one thing. You got the uncle's kill was off camera, which was very un-Damien Leone. You wasted a kill there. I did do some minus points for that. It was a good twist, you know, for that. But at the same time, I don't know. It's a little much. Well, a little lacking. That's more like what I'm saying. Well, Victoria starts going on the spiel, and she taught her voice is changing in and out. She can mimic other people. And this is where you get, okay, she's the demon at this point. She's no longer, she's like, I'm going to inhabit you. Once you lose everything and I kill this bitch over here, I'm going to inhabit your ass just like I did this bitch here. So you're like, okay, she's no longer Victoria. She is the witch, the demon, whatever you want to call it. Well, earlier, Sienna had a vision, and this was something I should have touched on, about the sword. When her and her dad was there, and her dad was telling her all about the sword and the hero, the thing he drew. And he was telling her that sword could never harm her, this, that, and the other. Well, she has this vision, and there's this demon crafting this sword, and the demon's on a chain. And there's this weird-looking woman there. And I didn't know until the tail end of the movie when I was looking at the credits. Apparently, that's supposed to be the Virgin Mary. That was very off-putting, so to speak, from a religious standpoint. But apparently the Virgin Mary had this demon on a leash forging a sword for her. So now you know where the sword come from, etc. Like I said, this is where it starts getting really supernatural. But, they got there like, look, once you lose everything, I can inhabit your body. And it's kind of funny because like Art's walking back and forth. He's doing shit, he's like fucking with the trees, fucking with the damn guy. And every time he walks by Sienna, he just smacks the shit out of her in the back of the head. Kind of like when a big brother walks by his little brother and just smacks the shit out of him. And I ain't gonna lie, I popped every time. I laughed my ass off every time he smacked the piss out of her. Being a big brother, I relate. You know, my little brothers and sisters and cousins could, you know, probably attest to this. But that was funny as hell. So she actually brings this little thing because she's like, well, where's Gabby? Where's Gabby? Where's Gabby? So there's a bird cage there, and they undo the bird cage, and when they undo the bird cage, there's a head there, and it's like being fucking eaten by rats. And she's like, holy shit. And they tell her that's Gabby, and she freaks out. Well, she tries to inhabit her body at that point, and she's like, you're fucking weak. You're not worth it. So Victoria's demon tries to inhabit her body, but she fights her off. You get to the point where she almost took her, and then she fights her off. And she's like, oh, you are strong as hell. She said, it's going to be a great pleasure to take your body. I see why they chose you. So that's where you start getting this good versus evil. There has to be a balance. They're like, okay. Well, then they go over there and do a fucking gruesome murder to the aunt. They shove a fucking tube down her face, throw these rats down her. Then as they're in her throat, they cut her throat and let the rats come out. And it's like, oh, fuck. Well, by the time Gabby surfaces, and they're like, look, we're finna kill her in front of you, then you will have lost everything. She's like, where's Jonathan? She said, oh, I thought you'd never ask. And she said, that's not Gabby's head. And she places the head up on the mantle, puts Jonathan's little glasses on him. Another kill off camera, and I get the suspense factor, like, oh, but it's a twist, but I don't know. That's an important kill that needed to be on camera to me. He was a pivotal part of part 2 and vital character in the 3. Not as, you know, he wasn't major, you know, screen time, but I don't know. I think he's going to play back into part 4 somewhere. But so she's like wigging the fuck out, and then Gabby, you know, she's smart enough. She's like, well, at least let her open her present before you kill us. And these motherfuckers are like, well, they're fucked up in the head, so they're like, oh, well, which one's hers? She said, the one back there with the angels. She said, of course. So she pulls out what's the sword. Well, just before she goes to hand it to her, Art goes over there, and he's got this mallet that he's done fought her with a couple times. And he bust her fucking hands to pieces. And I'm like, here, now you open it, bitch. It's, some of it was brutal just to be brutal. I'm not going to lie, even for my taste. Well, she's trying to open it and everything. She can't open it fast, so he smacks her a few more fucking times. Like, hurry the fuck up. Well, by the time she finally gets it open, and, you know, Gabby looks at her and says, do you like it? And she says, exactly what I wanted. And she's got the sword. Slashes Art across the throat. It visibly wounds him and fucks him up, so he goes off to the side there. And this is where her and Victoria have their little thing, and she, you know, she stabs Victoria, demon, and kills her with the sword. Well, as she's laying there, her blood's just oozing out and it's bubbling like acid or whatnot. Well, this is where, Sienna and Art, they have a pretty epic battle with a chainsaw and a sword. Pretty damn cool. Kind of very much like Chainsaw Massacre 2, but not cheesy and corny. They have a little battle back and forth or whatever, and she gets him on the ropes and has him pretty damn well dead. His eyes start going white because once, you know, the demons died, it's like, okay, it's taking some power away from him. His eyes start fading white like he's dying out or whatnot. And she's got him like stabbed to the wall, kind of. Well, she pulls it out and she's going to go for the killing shot, but by the time where the floor has oozed, it drops down. It's like a pit of hell, and the little girl is, you know, she's hanging on by a thread, so she goes over to help her. And she hands her the hilt of the sword, and she's holding the blade, and it's just slicing the piss out of her hands. Gabby almost gets up, and Gabby falls with the sword. Yeah, with the sword. So you're like, oh, this is not good. This is no bueno. Floor comes back up, solid. Well, not so much solid, but it's no longer a pit of hell. And she just kind of sits there staring into it. And then she looks up at the wall. Art's gone. He has went out the window into the night. Yes, that's right. Art has escaped. Well, she looks at her hands. They're sliced to ribbons. You see the meat. And that was like, ugh. But then they heal. So basically, if she sticks around, the law is going to say, you crazy bitch, you just done all that shit. You killed all your family. And she's never seen the light of day again. So, but she tells Gabby she'll find her. And then it goes, and Art's just sitting at this little bus stop. Like, then you got, a bus that pulls up, and there's like a bus driver and a chick reading a book, and she's been reading a hard book. And the girl, Art just goes and sits in front of fucking the girl. And the bus pulls off, and she's like staring at him the whole time. And this guy's eyes closed, and his eyes pop open, and the bus goes off. And that's how it ends. That's right, people. I'm going to be honest. The ending felt a little flat. It's set up part 4, and at this point, I mean, since it's supernatural, you can have as many fucking parts as you want, I suppose. But that was the biggest downfall to me. Like the very beginning of the movie felt just like gore for the sake of gore. And it was like, I enjoyed it. I mean, don't get me wrong. There was none of it that was so gory to me that was like, I don't see where people's puking in the fucking theaters or having to leave or any of that stuff. Maybe I'm desensitized. I don't know. I didn't get any of that there. But the story seemed to fall a little flat in the initial beginning, and then it really picks up, and it got really good there. And the battle scene at the tail end of the movie was amazing. But then you get it just falls flat with the way it ends, so to speak. I mean, I'm all for setting up a sequel, but at the same time, give me some semblance of closure for this chapter before we start already diving into it. Because it almost was just like setting up the next scene. And then stops. So I said through the credits, thank you. There was an end credit scene in part 2. No end credit scene. So if any of you out there haven't seen it yet, do not waste your fucking time sitting through the credits. There is no end credit scene. So yeah, I'll save you that time there. But all in all, 4 out of 5 hassles. I was pretty happy with it. I enjoyed it. The wife, she enjoyed it, which was surprising considering the amount of blood and guts and gore. I did not expect her to be as big a fan of it as she did, but she was. She enjoyed it. She cackled when the cackle spots were and cringed when the cringe spots was. So good job by the cast and crew. I said I highly recommend going and see it. Go support it. Our theater had a bootleg poster, which was another one of the more humorous things. We were going to take this selfie in front of the poster, and it had a bootleg poster there. It said Terrifier 3 at the bottom, like there was an official poster there, but then it had like 3 printed, pasted things there. I don't know what the fuck happened there. All I know is Douglas, Rock, and Nate, you need to do better. That was a fucking shame right there. Beyond that, everything was good. We enjoyed it. Shout out to our sponsors on Collectibles, 35 Main Street, Tips in Georgia. Give them a shout for all your nerdy needs. They support unity through community. Families unite. Don't forget Spotlight Media. Don't forget Stay Weird Network. Chris Daly, Fueled by Weird. Big Rob's House of Entertainment, and no Chinese food. And most importantly, us. The Big Hassles Review. I don't know where the hell I got big from. Well, maybe because I'm big. I don't know. Hassles Review, as well as the Nerdy Man Room Show. We are, like I said, close. We're close to subscriber goals. So like, subscribe, share. Hit the bell so you get the damn updates every time we drop new content. We're sorry we had a lull because of the storm, but we're back now, and we're going to flood the fuck out of you people for the next month. So with that being said, check under your bed. Oh, by the way, there's an amazing Christmas carol that they made for Art the Clown. I loved it. That right there, I'll probably sing that at Christmas. This is going to be added to my Christmas movies. So, with that being said, ho, ho, ho.
Garbage, top rope, catch a vibe, catch a foot.